Cowboys Nation, the 2026 offseason is not playing around in Dallas. And I mean that in the most tangible, show-me-the-receipts way possible. Because when you line up every move this front office has made in the first wave of free agency and connect the dots, one thing becomes undeniable. The Cowboys are not patching holes this year. They are rebuilding this defense from the inside out. New starters in the secondary, rotation depth on the defensive line, a legitimate pass rush addition, and yes, even a surprise at quarterback depth that nobody saw coming. But before we get into all of it, one fan to another, hit that subscribe button and drop your take in the comments. Only real Cowboys Nation shows up in that section. Let's go. Let us start where the biggest impact lives. The Cowboys traded for edge rusher Rashan Gary from the Green Bay Packers. Dallas sent a 2027 fourth-round pick to Green Bay. That is it, a fourth-rounder, for a player who, when healthy, is one of the most disruptive pass rushers in the NFC. In 2021, Gary posted 9.5 sacks, 47 tackles, and 28 quarterback hits. He was a problem every single week. Now, the injury history is real, and nobody should pretend otherwise. But here's the football logic. You pair a healthy Rashan Gary next to Donovan Azaraku, and offensive coordinators are drawing up their game plans at 2 in the morning, just trying to figure out who to block. A fourth-round pick for that upside is not a gamble. That is aggression with intelligence behind it. That is a front office that knows what it wants and goes and gets it. Now here's the move that changes the entire personality of this secondary. The Cowboys signed Jalen Thompson to a 3-year deal worth up to $33 million. 5 straight seasons as a full-time starter in Arizona. 9 career interceptions, over 450 tackles. But the number that matters most is not in the stat sheet. It is the role he plays before the snap. Thompson is a communicator. He lines everyone up. He eliminates the blown assignments and the coverage busts that turned too many third downs into free completions for opposing offenses last season. At 28 years old, he is still in his prime and already has the experience that young defenses desperately need in the back end. For defensive coordinator Christian Parker, this signing is foundational. You cannot build a scheme on talent alone. You need someone who makes sure the talent is in the right place. Jalen Thompson is that person. But the Cowboys did not stop at one safety. They also brought in PJ Locke, who started 26 games over 6 seasons in Denver, including 15 starts in 2024. And here's why that matters more than people realize. If Thompson slides into the nickel role, Locke steps into a starting safety spot without missing a beat. That is not depth for the sake of depth. That is genuine roster flexibility. Parker has already said the nickel position is one of the most important spots in his defense. Having 2 capable safeties who can rotate and cover multiple alignments gives him options that last year's Cowboys defense simply did not have. To be honest with you, the defensive line addition might be the quietest smart move of this entire offseason. The Cowboys signed defensive tackle Otito Ogbonnia to a 1-year deal. 6'4", 320 pounds, 14 pressures last season, despite dealing with injury. And I know the question immediately is why, because Dallas only has Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. You know the Cowboys also traded Solomon Thomas and Osa Odigizua. Parker's defensive philosophy is built on rotation. He wants fresh legs on the field in the fourth quarter when offenses are desperate for big plays. You don't win those moments with a tired lineman running on fumes. You win them with a fresh body who just came off the bench, ready to explode. Otito Ogbonnia is that body. Low cost, high rotation value, and exactly the kind of moves serious defenses make. And then there is Sam Williams, re-signed on a 1-year deal worth up to $3 million. Some fans will scroll past this one. Do not. Williams was a second-round pick in 2022 who showed real promise before a torn ACL derailed his development. Last season, he came back and played all 17 games, 38 tackles, 25 quarterback pressures, 6 tackles for loss. Those are not star numbers, but they are proof of life from a player who was written off. In Parker's system, used more aggressively as a dedicated pass rusher, there is a legitimate argument that Sam Williams takes a real step forward in 2026. Second-round talent on a prove-it deal is exactly the kind of low-risk, high-ceiling piece that smart rosters are built around.
Now, let us talk about the signing that is flying completely under the radar. The Cowboys signed cornerback Cobie Durant off the Los Angeles Rams. 4th-round pick in 2022 out of South Carolina State. Smaller school, had to earn everything, and what he has built is genuinely interesting. 7 career interceptions in 61 NFL games. 2 of those returned for touchdowns. In 2025 alone, he played all 17 games, recorded 3 interceptions, 7 passes defended, and 40 tackles. That is a ball hawk. That is a player with instincts that cannot be coached into someone. Either you see the field that way or you do not. Durant does, and he fits exactly the kind of defense Parker is building. Fast, aggressive, turnover-focused. 1-year deal, minimum risk, and if he plays to his ability, Dallas just found a secondary weapon on the cheap. We have seen that story before in this league. Do not sleep on it. And yes, we have to talk about Sam Howell. The Cowboys signed the quarterback to a 1-year deal, and the internet had questions. Dak Prescott is the starter. Joe Milton III is already in the building. So why Howell? Here's the simple answer. Competition sharpens everyone. Howell has 22 career touchdown passes and NFL starting experience. He knows the game. Putting him in the quarterback room pushes every player in that room to be better every single day of training camp. Low cost, zero risk, and potential upside if something unforeseen happens at the position. Smart teams do not wait for emergencies before they prepare for them. So, here is the bigger picture that every Cowboys fan needs to understand right now. This defense last season was the reason Dallas finished 7-9 and watched the playoffs from home. The coverage busts, the blown assignments, the inability to get off the field on third down, that was the identity of this defense, and it cost this team everything. What the front office has done in this first wave is attack every single one of those problems directly. Secondary leadership with Thompson, secondary depth with Locke and Durant, defensive line rotation with Ogbonnia, pass rush upside with Gary and a healthy Williams. That is not a patch job. That is a blueprint being executed. And the work is not finished. Parker still has room to build. The roster still has competition to sort out. But the direction is no longer a question. Dallas is not rebuilding through hope. They are rebuilding through deliberate, disciplined roster construction. And that alone feels different from what Cowboys fans have watched for too many seasons. Tell me in the comments, which move hits hardest for you? The Gary trade, the Thompson signing, or one of these under-the-radar additions that might end up being the real story by October? Drop it below, because if this defense becomes what it looks like it can become, 2026 in Dallas is going to feel very different on Sunday afternoons. And that is not a promise. That is a plan finally taking shape. How about them Cowboys?